Welcome back to the Electrical Distribution Solutions podcast. This is episode 2, brought to you by Space Saver Distribution, Inc. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. We're here today to talk about what is SSDi. Space Saver Distribution, Inc., SSDi, is a manufacturer of electrical distribution systems. We're a UL-listed 508A shop that meets or exceeds all NEC codes.
But please do not Google SSDi. You will end up at the Social Security Department. Please include LV at the end of SSDi. Because we are proud of being in Las Vegas. We're the good part of Las Vegas, not the other part.
The part we don't talk about.
We don't hang out at the Strip.
The part that everybody thinks about when they think of Vegas.
So what do we build, guys? Let's tell them what SSDi is. What do we build for people?
Well, we take electrical panels that are typically mounted on a wall and integrate them into one overall cabinet, giving you a better space saving, hint hint, and take all the controls and integrate that once again into the same cabinet to allow the electrician for ease of wiring and etc.
So what he's meaning is that instead of having 4 panels stretched out across the wall that would end up taking up 6 feet of space or 10 feet of space, and having a hard time if you have to pull from panel A to panel B to panel C, because code doesn't allow that, we put it in an enclosure that has 4 panels in one. So you just took a 6 to 10 foot space and condensed it down to 3 feet or less.
And when we talk to people, when we go and we meet with them, how do you come to that conclusion that that's what they want from us?
They don't necessarily know that they want that from us. They think electrical panels are boring. They are boring. Absolutely boring, but everybody's required to have them. You have to have distribution. You have to have breakers.
Yeah, nobody thinks about the electrical panels. They're all more worried about everything else that goes into the store, and they forget about that portion of their system. Well, we're here to help with that, giving them ideas on how to better improve that system, give them more room, more space, ease of installation when it comes to those
and
types of components and future.
Because we put the panels all inside of one enclosure, then you can trade from panel A to panel B to panel C without violating any NEC codes. So everything is in one enclosure. And because of the one enclosure and because of the ratings for this enclosure, you can put a lot of conduits into it and not violate it. Or if you have a problem with a box or something like that, when you have to go between panels, this one eliminates that.
So we actually provide them the knowledge that they don't even realize they need to know. When they go into their room for that space, they don't even realize that they're missing that space till they get to see what we do.
Yeah, once we put the panels in that space, we condense it so much that they all of a sudden they have all this extra room, and they go, this room doesn't need to be this big anymore, so we can have square footage we can rent, or we can put stuff on it.
Things to sell.
Yeah, things to sell. Their back room can have more product on it because of everything has been condensed down to a smaller footprint.
Yeah, and the other thing is we will never sell something to a customer that they don't need. We will make sure that it's more prioritized towards their needs than us just making a sale. That's not who we are.
And you guys are really good in that design phase when you're meeting with their team, paying attention and listening to what they're talking about, so you're including any future ideas that they may have. So I know in the beginning our thing was gas stations. I know we're into other quick serve restaurants and all those things now, but tell us with the gas stations why the back room is important.
Well, the back room, there's a lot of stock that they have to have for these C-stores. So to save them space allows them to have more product to sell, to place on their floor, whether it be candy bars, sodas,
Beer,
yeah, alcohol, anything that goes inside a C-store, they need that space to stock so their shelves never run out. So when we look at their back room, or it may not even be their back room, it may be an area that they've overlooked that's dead space where our cabinet would fit into, to allow them to free up that area to give them more footprint back there for space-wise.
Electrical distribution doesn't need to go into a back room or into an office. It can go into a hallway. It can go just about anywhere. We've put them outside restrooms. We've put them in hallways that nobody ever uses, so that you can have a back room that's dedicated for their product and their sales. We try to go through on every project we do, whether it be gas stations, whether it be convenience stores,
car
washes, whether it be QRSs, whether it be tilt-up buildings, whether it be any type of structure that this is going to be required or that they're going to want us to put it in. We look at where everything lays out. So we try to find unconventional areas that will never get used, that we can put our product in and free up all that space.
The more square footage they can have for product and people and all of that gives
Office
them
space,
the ability to have more revenue.
Yes. So they can rent more for square footage out. And so they still have one central location where they can go back and be able to find the breakers, be able to have things labeled. And it cleans the room up. It makes it look much cleaner instead of having all these things on the wall.
So when we're building, or I should say when our customer is building a convenience store and we're providing their electrical distribution cabinet, how is that useful for them? What does that do for the gas station? What does that do for the convenience store, our product?
Well, it turns on, for one, it turns on the
Their
turbine.
lights?
Yeah. I mean, if you can get it as basic as you want. It turns on the lights, it turns on the turbine, but, the more...
What is a turbine?
Turbine is what pumps the gas to the dispenser, the fuel to the dispenser.
So most people think that that's just the pump itself.
Yeah.
When you pull up, you find the pump. They don't know what a turbine is. No. But
I didn't know what a dispenser was.
We educate them so that they know what a turbine is, so the control systems that Adam helps develop and manufacture can be readily accessible and available for their service techs. Gas stations are complicated, but when you walk into a gas station, you don't think they're complicated. There's so much that goes on behind the works that nobody sees, except for if you have to service it, which is maintaining it or building it from scratch.
And we'll talk about the servicing later, but...
So when you essentially lift that handle on a pump and push 87, our system turns on, which allows the fuel to pump to your vehicle.
And allows the cash register,
data, the data, credit card information, and all that stuff passes through our system to the cash register, authorizes it, and you can fuel.
Because we provide the electrical distribution, that's where the hot dogs get cooked too, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
And then the ice cream machines are still there.
And the Slurpee machine.
Yeah, we do provide power for that. That's for sure. So
it all comes from our panel. It all comes from our little control system. So by developing this and making this as small as we can, and is located in an area where it's accessible for people can maintain it and work on it, it does free up a lot of space. And then it gives the area one place to go instead of 3 or 4 different places. If you go to a lot of the older gas stations with a lot of convenience stores, you'll find that the controls are in one room, and then you got to walk 300 feet to get to the other part where the electrical distribution is. We put it all inside one cabinet. We've made it smaller, more compact, so that as systems get more complicated, we simplify it and make it smaller.
And we control the lighting, so there's lighting controls in there, which, I mean, it's like flipping a switch, but it can get sophisticated where you can have light sensors, certain things turn on, timing, timers, daylight sensors, gray days, which are, cloudy, the lights will kick on, they won't kick off. And I mean, the other thing that is an option, as Dorothy liked to say, if she wanted to be sitting at home and flush a toilet, she could remote dial into our system and turn stuff on and off if she wanted to.
Dial? Who dials anything?
Ethernet, Ethernet,
But so we could also control coolers, all of those things are things people don't think about.
Lighting,
but are all required.
Outlets. I mean, as long as it can be powered up through our system, it can be turned off remotely with our system.
So that's a good segue into talking about why our cabinets are designed for electricians.
Well, but we got to go back one step, because one of the things that Adam mentioned was daylight. One of the things our system does is the key word is harvesting. They do daylight harvesting. That's a big buzzword out there. It's as simple as we turn the lights on and off during the day. Or when we have the gray days, like Adam said, when there's gray days, the gray days can turn on or turn off, so that they don't have to worry about that every day. So they're always saving power. So when it is too bright, they can turn off lights inside the store, not just outside.
So it's all automated. I forgot to mention that, and I forget about it because their employees don't have to think about it either. Their employees don't even have to be aware of that, because the system will do it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
We program it so that it'll know through a light sensor whether or not it's a cloudy day, or if it's daylight, or if it's evening and they need more light, it'll adjust the system.
But we also do it. We also measure that light capability on the interior side too, but we do it through the exterior, so we know how bright it is outside. So we know if we need to turn lights off on the inside. More and more people are going with solar lights, so they're doing with skylights, all that stuff. And because of that, this is becoming more important, that they don't want to waste electricity, so they turn their things off during the day on the inside.
Well, and as a woman, I know for me, the night part, the safety part of knowing that the canopy lights are going to turn on when it starts to get dusk, and I don't have to worry about it being pitch black between the store and the canopy, still makes me want to go inside.
Well, we can't forget that we do give them the option of having an override switch. So if they do feel it's dark, it's not coming on, they can push a button and all the lights will turn on.
That old-fashioned manual way.
So, yes, the light switch.
So now is it okay to move on to why we build it for electricians, or are you going to go backwards? Did I forget something else?
No.
Okay. It's good. It was a good point. We needed to remember that. We do it every day. It becomes old school for us, and we forget all the special things we build into it for people.
Yeah, how we've progressed over the years in the development of our technology. I mean, we had a UL guy come in and evaluate what we were doing and some of the stuff, and he looked at the technology that we've developed where we're at, and he says, boy, you've taken technology from the 50s, brought it into the year 2000. Look how small it is. Look how compact it is. Look how it has developed into what the technology today is supposed to be.
It's changed.
And it was exciting to
grown.
hear that from them.
Yep.
Especially UL.
Yeah. They don't usually say much.
Not
they
to
just
me.
come in with their little check mark book. So back to the electricians. Tell us why, because you're both electricians. You both have been doing this a really long time. You always say you're lazy.
I am.
So why did we do certain things with the cabinet to make it easier for them to install in the field? Why is that important?
I think some of it is just trial and error over the years being an electrician. I mean, you being an electrician, I don't think anybody has never been shocked before. So one of the big features that Jerry came up with is that in our cabinets, the way our panels are mounted, they're stood off a little bit. Well, we put in a plastic back panel for safety. Not only for safety, you can reach your hand back there and not get shocked, but it also acts as a raceway too, to make sure the wires are all clean, and when you're attaching it to the breakers, everything looks nice and neat.
But you didn't tell them why I developed that. Why I did that.
Yeah, because he got shocked.
Because you knocked yourself on the rump.
Yeah.
I reached behind a panel one day, not thinking and saying, oh, look at all that space, I can reach back there and grab something. And I hit a bus bar. Knocked me on my ass. So
trial and error.
Adam says, why can't
And
we
that
put
would
a
be
piece
useful.
of plastic back there? I said, I think that's great.
Well, and also saves from scratching the wires on exposed screws and all of those items with the installation of the panels.
Well, one of the things you lose in a standard panel compared to us is, like Adam said, when we put the standoffs there, we just developed another 6 to 8 inches behind the panel, where with a standard panel, you don't have that space. You don't have that depth there. You have a 6-inch can, ours are 12-inch boxes, so you get that space so you can hide all your wires. You can put everything in the back, make it look pretty, like he said. You make it, you trim it out, it makes it look good. Out of sight, out of mind. And it frees the wires up so they're not bundled together, so they can still breathe, so they can still have the amperage.
Yeah, it makes maintenance easier.
Yes, it does make maintenance easier.
Yeah, and we also provide, wireways throughout our cabinet to help with that, look of the cabinet and the ease of the wire. We do have low voltage separated from high voltage, just to keep those separated in the cabinet, plus colored terminal blocks with ease of the installation, which if any electrician knows, if you had all the same colored terminal blocks, if they're all gray, if they're all black, and they're wired by numbers, it gets difficult tracing wire from wire to wire. But if it's different color, different numbers, makes it easier to wire.
And you guys have color coded them to create a standard on the fueling side.
On the fueling side, the standard was kind of set by Chevron years ago, but we've developed that standard that Chevron kind of came up with by mistake to an industry standard now, where especially on the West Coast, everybody's using the same color for the same product. So if you go into a building and you're working on an unleaded regular tank, and you see a blue wire coming from the dispenser, unleaded. When it's red, it's premium. When it's yellow, that's where the difference starts, because most people don't have mid-grade anymore. But when we started doing this, they had mid-grade, which was yellow. And the yellow is now turned to
diesel. Could be DEF. It could be diesel number 2, red diesel. So it kind of.
But you can go to the dispenser and see whether or not they have diesel or red.
Plus the labeling and that kind of stuff too on the terminal blocks.
Yeah, you can see that. That's what Adam says is right. Because once you see that there's a systematic system, so that you can start at the top, dispenser 1 has blue, red, yellow, black, whatever it has. Then you go to the next one, it's the same. You go to the next one, the same. So you have 22 dispensers there that are all the same. They're systematically built the same. So nothing varies from that.
Yeah.
That's simple for electricians.
Yeah, simple for electricians. And that also helps with wiring diagrams for the electrician, because if you can use colors to represent the wiring diagram, you can look at the wiring diagram, look at the cabinet, and the two match. So it's like, that makes sense.
And when you guys, I should say you two, because I don't personally build them, but when you two when they're being built, when the cabinets are being built and before they leave here, they're pre-wired so that when they come out in the field, the electricians are just bringing it into the load side, correct? Am I saying that right?
Well, yes and no. Okay. Some of the stuff we do for the controls would be load side, but there still is connections that they'll have to do from the breaker. We try to get every connection possible that we can made, or if not, we try to at least do one side, so all they have to do is the load side or line side, depending on which one, how it's built for the customer.
Lighting contactors.
Yeah.
Good example. So lighting contactors, we will pre-do the line side and then label it so that the load side matches the prints, because we try to get copies of the prints and put the numbering of what is supposed to be going out for site lighting, for canopy lights, for exterior lights on the building, label all that. So all I have to do is look, that's the number of circuit 33, I put it there, and that's it. So the electrician can be more successful, and he doesn't have to think as much, because when I'm in the field, I don't like to think.
Well, and we all know in construction things change. Yes. From the time that we get the prints to the time that they're actually in the field installing it, and you work with them as well on that with breakers and things to help when they've made changes in the field that we didn't know about here before it shipped.
Yeah, changes. Good point in changes, because I personally went to a job site where an electrician had come up with, because we extend our panels off from the backs, we're using all thread. He said, well, why can't you wrap those like I did with this little plastic tie? And I looked at that and it says, I didn't think of that. And he says, well, yeah, I've been doing it on all your panels that you've been sending us, and it's been working out great because I can use it to loop my wires over them and not worry about, scratching them, or not scratching them, but nicking them. That's the word I want to use, nicking them. So, and it's a great idea. So we also listen to what the electricians have to say in the field. If they have modifications that make sense and they've been doing it in our cabinets, then we ask permission if we can steal their idea. It's a great idea. And we try to incorporate it into what we're doing, what we're building.
The positive feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we try to support that because these guys are in the field doing the work. I mean, I haven't been in the field for years, but I still get to see what my guys do in the field for when we do install them. The other thing I like about SSDi is that when we install them, if they lay it out how we send them the conduits layouts and how we send the underground, we've done sites here that we have one conduit coming out of the top. Everything is underground. And the panels come in, they lay it on top of the panels, they put it on top of the pad, bolt it down. They're almost 80% done, except for pulling wire and landing. That's the other benefit of having this system.
The open bottom in our cabinet.
Right. Yeah. And everything is almost pre-done, so all they have to do is set plug and play, as I like to call it.
Right.
So it is easy, simple.
But if you can't do underground due to time constraints, some buildings, some general contractors would prefer not to have you do a lot of underground. Our cabinet can accept conduits overhead.
Right.
I believe, I'm off the top of my head, I don't remember it. We have a drawing for it. I think there's like 55, 60 conduits that you can get in the top spaced out per our direction, if needed, of course.
And per code.
And per code. And so you can do it underground. You can do it overhead. You can come into the side. And you can come into the back if necessary. So you have options on getting into our cabinet.
And I know we're going to talk about customer service later, but that's a good point to make, that we will work with the electricians during construction and pre-construction to be able to have a conversation so that the underground can be done to where it's benefiting them when they get the box.
Yeah, it doesn't benefit us.
Yeah.
Right.
It benefits them more.
It benefits them as an electrician.
Right.
If they have that knowledge.
And if they can put more underground in, which is what we encourage to do, the amount of time, for me on my projects when I build them with NE, we can save up to 2 weeks in the end. Because we don't have to put all that conduit in overhead. We don't have to do all that. And that's less labor for the electricians. It's less work. All he's done is he just lays a piece of PVC on the ground.
That's why we're doing the podcast, to give away all these wonderful trade secrets we have, right?
Well, we share. I learned my stuff over the years. People have taught me, and they've been eager to let me share their knowledge and given it to me. You guys have shared your knowledge with me. Why it's only right that we share what we know.
So I guess that would be a good time to talk about what makes our systems custom. Why we say that everything we do is custom, but then yet we tell our customers we'll create their standard. What does that mean for us?
Well, I think custom is it fits their needs and beyond. I guess it's not a standard product that you just pick off the shelf. You just can't come here and like you would go to a grocery store and get bread.
We don't sell widgets?
Yeah, we don't sell widgets. We can, but we don't. It's not. There's no need to just make a product where it can just be bought off the shelf. For us, I think it needs to fit the customer's need 100% and not just sell them something that is just generic that they don't need or extra stuff.
Like our competitor does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once you meet with them, you work with their design team, you work with the owners or the construction crew or whoever it is, and you create that, then they're able to have a standard with us. It isn't at a custom price, it's just at a custom design.
Right. We work with them to develop what they need for their stores moving forward, whether it be a QSR, a fast food restaurant, or whether it be a convenience store or a car wash, or a multi-strip center. We come and we say, okay, this is what you're going to build every time. Okay, this is what's going to work every time for you. So we then become cookie cutter so that everything's the same for them so they can depend on that. that nothing varies. So when they go from site to site to site, they know, okay, breaker number 22 in panel A is going to be the refrigerator.
It allows them to have cost. They can control their costs, their construction costs. They can control the costs of building from month to month and year to year, having a standard design.
Right. Where I have to bring up our competitors again. I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but they do sell them as a cookie cutter. So this is their product, you buy it. This is their product, you buy it. You don't get to customize it. You don't get to say, okay, well, I don't want one that's 40 feet wide. I want one that's only 10 feet wide. They say, no, these are the panels we sell. This is what we do.
Well, and we work with our customers, so they decide, you guys meet with them. You've done this, Adam. Mm-hmm. You go and you meet with them, you create a design, they get one or two of them, and then they say, oh, this isn't quite working.
Well, yeah, we like to go in, meet with them face to face, let them know, talk to them, let them know who we are so they can have a face. And then we'll look at what their design is that they have done and offer suggestions, tweak it, change it, and then give them, like Dorothy said, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different types of designs so they can mull it over and be like, you know what, can we take a combination of this or not? And then once they kind of decide, we work with the engineer to make sure that he's on board and fully understands it, obviously, because they're the ones designing it, with our help and signing off on it, stamping it, and all that stuff. And then we go from there. And it has happened in the past where we've done a design and then a few designs in, we're like, oh, why aren't we doing it this way? So we'll tweak it even more to make it a better design for them.
So when we talk about we're customizing it for our customers and we're making changes along the way and going about this, we also provide them not only with a drawing in every cabinet of everything that they've done, but we label everything. Talk about how extensively we label, because I know I look in there and there's a label on everything.
Yeah, and what that'll help with is troubleshooting. Look, there's going to be issues. Things are going to happen. Nobody's perfect. Things are going to get miswired. Things are going to get damaged. I mean, you could be in freight. So they look at that and the wiring diagram to our stuff, and it helps explain it. Plus, if they were to call us, we know exactly how it's wired, so we will be able to walk them through how it's wired, plus be able to troubleshoot on their end where they may miswired, or if we find something that is bad in the cabinet.
Going back to before everything leaves our shop.
Yes.
All of the pictures are taken. Everything is tested and verified. So a lot of this is able to do over the phone. Not that we don't fly out and see people,
yeah,
but we can do this stuff over the phone. Any one of our techs are trained to be able to talk to these people and help them walk through on repairs.
So we don't need an on-site tech all the time because pictures are great, internet works really well, and because of the pandemic, some of us can't get to the sites because we're still restricted on moving about the country. And so these pictures do help because we can look and see the original construction, how production built it, how it was done, and then we can see what's happened in the field. So we can say, okay, well, when it left here, that wire was on terminal number 2. Now we see it's on number 5. What changed?
Or like all of the jumper wires, they say right on the jumper wire, it's labeled where remove. Once you do this, remove this wire.
Wow. So that will help too, because then we can specifically talk to them like, okay, you need to go to this exact terminal block. I'm just going to say reset terminal block, attach it to the top and the back, and then they'll be like, oh, right there. It's color coded with, and labeled.
And we also make sure that we work with the engineers on this because the engineers come up with the drawings, and those are the funny papers that we call them, that everybody needs to follow. And there's revisions in the field that we never get. So we'll build something according to that. So when we talk to these electricians in the field, we're able to help them and say, okay, well, we work on this set of drawings, and I think we include them in each one of them.
Our drawings?
Theirs.
Their drawings? Well, they have them on site. We don't include.
I know that we include a drawing for
our stuff.
Our stuff,
but not their stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's custom to their. Here we go back to the custom and the standard thing. It's custom to the customer, to their cabinet is the drawing that we include.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so they can go back and see that. So if the engineers changed, so we're working on revision number 3, and he's got number 5, we can say, well, there's been a change on not your end, but the engineer's done something that we don't know about. And so we can always help them with that. We can always see. That's why we always document everything. We have everything here, how we build them. Again, they're a custom cabinet for us, but they're not a custom cabinet for you.
Well, no, I think over time now, in the relationships that have been developed with the engineers and the architects, a lot of them now are making those changes and adapting the drawings to what you guys are asking them, so that they're becoming more prevalent with the changes.
I laugh at that because, yes, Adam has spent many hours talking with engineers, trying to get them to understand that we made these changes because this is what the code requires. This is what the field requires. Just because you drew it doesn't make it right.
I told my son, who went to college and became a mechanical engineer, that all of them should have to work in the field that they choose so that they can live experience the stuff that they're building. Because we have had things come out that you're looking at the drawings going, can we really build this? We're basically saying that it doesn't matter whether you're building a gas station, a convenience store, a grocery store, a hospital. Everybody needs electrical distribution. Every building, every business. No one gets away with not having power.
Yes, nobody. You have
restaurants, fast food restaurants, full service restaurants. Everybody's got to have electricity.
We fall back and talk a lot about gas stations only because it is where we began and it's where a lot of our knowledge is. But we build these for a lot of other type businesses.
Well, our knowledge is great to say that it's a lot of our knowledge is there. A lot of our knowledge is universal, so we cover all the gamuts of everything. Our love is gas stations.
Yeah. Well, the NEC code doesn't care if it's a gas station unless it's the fueling portion. And there is specifics for that, I know.
Yeah,
I don't want to get in trouble.
And the other thing is because of codes and changes of who we are, as a company, we spend time to make sure that we're up on the codes because we have electrical contracting here in Nevada, and so we stay current with the code. But we also have people come in and teach code classes twice a week and updates. We've been able to influence the NEC to make changes on a lot of the products or a lot of the things they do. Wording
and more description and more definition so that it's easier to understand.
The interpretation is not said, well, you can think of it that way. No, this pretty much says it's this way. So they can interpret that. And I don't know how many times we've had to explain to people that that's what the code says it has to be.
Right.
Because they want to change it.
Anybody can build a cabinet. Anybody can build electrical distribution.
Well, as long as they're UL certified.
Right. Okay. With one exception, you have to be UL certified. You're right. What makes us unique? What makes us better than anybody else, in my opinion? I know I should say my humble opinion. I don't know that was a humble statement. But what makes us exceptional?
We answer the phone.
I think it comes down to customer service because honestly, for me, yeah, of course I'm going to say we're number one, but we all do
Adam, we are number one, Adam.
We all do the same stuff. It's just the little minute things that make us different than our competitors.
We've had customers call us that they have our cabinets, they have our controls, they have whatever they're doing, whether it be lighting controls for a fast food restaurant or anything. They call us and say, well, we can't figure this out. Well, because we've experienced it and we know what our competitors are like, we can help them troubleshoot their system. So it's a service that we provide, and we haven't charged them for that because we know that they're buying other products from us. So we make sure that they're taken care of. We want to make sure that they're always being able to stay up and running because that's how they make money.
And I think that comes back. It's a customer service thing. With any of our cabinets, you get us. Pretty much, it's us. If there's a need, it's the three of us, or production, I should say, or the other people involved with the company. And another thing is the electrician can call us up, and if Dorothy had mentioned, there's changes, there's revisions in the field, they can call us up. We'll get them extra breakers as long as we get the old ones back. They need wiring, boards, things change, and we know it's changed, but I think the biggest thing that separates us is customer service.
We will work with them. There may not always be, I mean, people call and they're upset because it's the heat of the moment and things aren't working, and
they're trying to get open.
They're trying to get open. The pressures.
The owner's standing there breathing down you. The general contractor's saying, why isn't this done? And the electrician's panicking. Well, we want the electrician to understand we've been there. We know what it's like to have everybody standing on top of your shoulders going, why aren't you done? Why aren't you done?
We want him to be successful.
Right. And so if we're there to help him boost him up so that he can say, okay, yes, I didn't think of that. Or, yes, what do you think about this? And we're going, yeah, that makes sense. Bounce it off somebody that knows so that we can help him be as successful. So when he does the next station or the next store, he goes, okay, well, I had good luck with this. This worked out really well.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they'll come
that's
back to
happened
us.
a couple times to us where we've crossed industries where they've done one of our customer cabinets and found out we're involved with another one, and he couldn't stop talking about how well, when he had issues or if he had questions, we answered it for him. And he was so happy he was relieved that we were doing this other type of business now to work with our cabinet.
We're never going to not. I would love for the day to be that everything went out and it's perfect and it all went beautifully and there was never an issue. But that's not reality. Oh, we don't talk about exes on this show. But I think that's really important. I think that's what defines us as different from other companies. We really put them first when they call. We stop what we're doing and we help them with their problem.
We also have our employees do the same thing. Is that we get in trouble in the field quite a bit because our employees will stop and help them do other things. I mean, we'll even help other trades out there because that's who we are. We're a company that wants to help somebody and helps them succeed. So whether it be a plumber or whether it be, a roofer, we're there to support them too, not directly, but it does end up coming back to us.
Well, it isn't about
people,
one project.
but it's about people.
Right.
Is what it comes down to for us, is that who's that person and what do they need?
If they're successful, then we're successful.
Yes.
Yeah, agree.
I want to instill that in our people that, just because you're an electrician doesn't mean you can't help or understand what somebody else is going through. Or a good example that's happening today is that someone's installing a bunch of vinyl siding that's going to block our access to our roof. So I called them and says, can we change that? Well, sure. You've helped us in the past. So they're going to do it. They're going to help us because we've helped them. My trades have to know what's going on in the field. They have to pay attention. So when they're setting tanks or setting a hot water tank or just putting a conduit up to the roof, that the roofer doesn't destroy it because they're willing to work with them and know what's going on for the whole project, not just their stuff.
You both are electricians, but you both have been in the field, and I think that you've instilled that in even the technicians we have and the electricians we have in SSDi.
Yes, and being organized, and because that's Adam's trait, is that Adam is regimented on how he does things and how they go forward, and that's helped them out there quite a bit because he knows that if they start at step A when they're building the cabinet or they're wiring a panel or something, that they start here and they can get all the way to B and they go back or get to C and D and E and F, I should have said, instead of B from A, that they can look back and say, okay, that was much easier because we did it systematically, logically, and because we teach them that.
Yeah, sometimes they don't like me back there, but that's okay because we got to have it where it's the same every single time it goes out.
Well, and you have to expand on that a little bit. It's when he's part of the teaching process that Adam likes to do with them is when there's a mistake, instead of just fixing it for them, he likes to let them find that mistake because it's a better lesson when you actually have to discover it.
Yeah,
and they do appreciate it even if they are a little frustrated.
Yeah, they get upset. I mean, they don't say it, but they do. They in their face they get upset. And another thing that I typically will do is when somebody's new and they're wiring, even not, I guess not even new, older employees too, I will pull on their wires to make sure they've been torqued properly. And everybody's getting better, but there are some times where things pull out and they just get frustrated because I do it before they get in, so when they come, they'll show up to work and the wires will be missing. And that's just, again, goes back to one of our testing and making sure that when it leaves, it is done right.
Because some of these panels travel many miles. I mean, we go into Canada now. We're traveling all across the United States. So these things have a lot of road trips. There are a lot of miles they have to put on themselves before they get set.
A lot of vibration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of all that movement, all the things that happen. So we want to make sure when they finally do arrive that all they have to do, again, is just plug and play. Set it in place, wire it up, and they walk away.
And if not, if they're confused or they have questions, they can always feel free to call us. Numbers are on the cabinet, or like Jerry said, our website, SSDi.lv.com.
Or now you'll be able to listen to our podcast and come to us and hear and ask questions, or maybe even be on the show.
And look for ideas of things to talk about. So things that you would like to talk about, so that we can bring them forward and discuss them and have open discussion about everything, why we do it on the manufacturing side and how you don't understand that. And we can explain why, or we can listen to you and say, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing it that way.
Thank you, everyone, for listening today. If you enjoyed the show and want to be notified when new episodes get released, please subscribe to our show on your favorite listening app. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Click on the links in the show notes below. Also, your feedback would mean the world to us. Help our listeners in our trade find us by giving us 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcast or your favorite listening app. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.